was as uncertain as my feelings, veering between light and dark, between banks of cloud sliding in from the Tyrrhenian Sea, trailing skirts of rain, and skies of that luminous silver blue which is so different from the hard blue of the summer that it might be another element altogether. I followed the Via Cassia as it rose up over the high ground of the Campagna. All the modern building was clustered along the roadside. Beyond it, the land was almost unaffected by development. Even here, so close to the city, the 20th century had not really permeated the landscape. It is a thin over-painting, inexpertly and patchily applied, a modern imposition, just as the 2,000-year-old road is an ancient imposition. As I drove, I could imagine David Hewison's insistent voice, the rounded vowels, the forcibly articulated consonants, delivering judgments like blows with a cudgel.
Conquest, my dear fellow. Pure colonial conquest. The white Americans did it with the railways, the Romans did it with their roads, just as the present Italian governments are conquering the South with the autostrada.
The irony is that even now, 2,000 years after its victory has been won, for those with a grain of sensitivity towards the past, the road is still as plain a mark of subjugation as a scar across a slave's back. I stopped for coffee at a shabby bar which proclaimed itself of the Quarto Secolo, a claim which was plainly idiotic, but probably true. Inside, a group of road workers were drinking a mid-morning coffee and grappa and arguing about the coming weekend's football. Their voices rose and fell in the swaggering tones and truncated inflections of the Roman dialect. A city dialect which has spread out into the Campagna, spread and spread until now it laps halfway into Etruria itself. Outside, the sky had darkened and rain had begun to fall. I felt the weight of the past pressing down on me, the greater past of which the road workers were an almost emblematic fragment, and my own fragile little past, which was now mingled with David Hewison's and Lara's. I wondered whether I should drink my coffee, go back to the car I had hired, and return to the city. The road workers' argument grumbled on. They were the descendants of those men who had first laid the road across the desolated fields of Etruria, ignoring the valleys where the old ways had run, and bypassing, with a sullen conqueror's deliberation, the great city of Veii, which had ruled here. Their ancestors had dug the ditches and pounded the gravel, and settled the massive basalt slabs into place, and thus destroyed a people more surely than any army. One of them was voicing hesitant support for the Lazio football team.
Che cazzo!
His mate shouted.
E più forte la Roma!
I smiled. That was it, wasn't it? As the echoes of that past tragedy grew fainter, they are heard only as the notes of vulgar comedy, the rivalry of football teams. That was Croce's Redeemer of Sins, E più forte la Roma. Now we wring our hands over violence in the football stadium and forget about the 2,000-year dead, the destruction of a culture. I paid for my coffee and went out into the rain, thinking of Lara and Hewison and Gianluca and Clara, and wondering when their small tragedy would ever metamorphose into comedy. The process was surely quicker for lesser things. Adolescent pains become the jokes of middle age. Just as now I could smile wryly at the thought of Helen when once I had wept, so one day soon I would laugh. It would be the same for Lara. I got back into the car and pulled out into the traffic. I almost turned back towards the city. At the top of the avenue, the Villa Rasenna stood behind its screen of umbrella pines in marvellous counterpoise to my own disquiet. It calmed me. The house seemed unmoving and unmoved.